This guy's been having a bad time, huh?
If ever there was a celebrity that exemplified the saying, don't meet your heroes, then it's got to be James Corden, a man who rode his funny, humble, down-to-earth, everyman persona all the way to Hollywood stardom. He was once hosting everything from talk shows to awards ceremonies, starring in TV and big-budget movies, and rapidly being positioned as the new face of American TV. The world just couldn't seem to get enough of James Corden. But fame exacts a heavy price on any man, and beneath all the jokes and the jolly banter and the forced relatability, there lurked a sordid tale of bullying, abuse, out-of-control egos and embarrassing revelations that ultimately unraveled his entire career. So join me as I recount the crash and burn of...
This is the problem that some people have, is that they create a persona for themselves that they can't live up to. That's the problem. And you see streamers do this too, where the persona ends up cracking and it gets exposed, and now everybody hates them. The same thing happened with Ellen DeGeneres. It's like if the same stuff that Ellen DeGeneres had come out about her came out about Bill O'Reilly, everybody would be like, yeah, we knew that. We know. Yeah, for sure. So he yelled at his staff? Yeah, I know. Of course he did. Ellen DeGeneres? Yeah, exactly. But if you put out an image like this, I think that's what really confuses people.
James Corden.
James
Kimberly Kimberly Corden was born in London in 1978, the son of a book salesman and a social worker. And by all accounts, his childhood was a pretty normal one. He didn't grow up in grinding poverty or obnoxious privilege, but instead had a standard working class British upbringing that he'd later used to push himself as down to earth and relatable. Anyway, he soon developed an interest in acting and presenting and started getting small parts in British TV shows like Hollyoaks and Boys Unlimited. What can I say? The 90s were a wild time in British TV, man. He first gained mainstream attention with a starring role in Fat Friends, a drama about, you guessed it,
Fat Friends?
A bunch of fat people trying to lose weight. Damn, man, imagine daring to make a show like that nowadays.
If you took the collective face of everybody at Reddit who was mad at me and you put it all in together into one person, this would basically be it.
Anyway, it was here that he met fellow actor and writer Ruth Jones. The two hit it off immediately and soon hatched an idea for a new TV series about a young English guy who falls in love with a girl from Wales.
Oh, wow.
A place which Mahler assures me is a real country, but I'm still not convinced.
I don't know what Wales is.
Anyway, the show was called Gavin and Stacey. You've probably never heard of it in America, but it would go on to run for 3 seasons and become one of the most successful British comedies of the 2000s.
Good job.
What's interesting about it is that Corden and Jonesy's characters, Smithy and Nessa, ended up becoming way more popular than the actual stars of the show. With the success of Gavin and Stacey, the offers were now flowing in. A natural entertainer who could banter with the best of them, Corden soon found himself hosting everything from awards ceremonies to panel shows. James Corden was now officially a big deal. In the UK at least. The only question now was what to do next. His answer was to try to recapture the magic of Gavin and Stacey by branching out into other projects with his co-star Matthew Horn, ignoring the fact that it was Ruth Jones who was mostly responsible for the show's success, but whatever. Lesbian Vampire Killers, their first big movie together, was absolutely slated by critics and bombed at the box office, while their comedy sketch show Horn and Corden failed to explain why either of them had ever been considered funny. Strangely enough, Corden would quietly distance himself from young Matthew after that.
Smart.
Problems were also afoot behind the scenes. Corden's sudden rise to fame and success was doing what it does to many people. It was turning him into a fucking bellend. His behavior was...
I think this is what happens for a lot of people because people aren't mentally programmed to handle the amount of feedback and attention that a person who's very popular gets. And it just fucks with their head. I think that's really what happens. It is.
Apparently so bad that his Gavin and Stacey co-star Rob Brydon actually had to step in and warn him to rein it in. Even his own family got involved. One of his sisters straight up told him, James, stop being such a dickhead. It's a shame he never took that advice to heart. But it was the 2010 Glamour Women of the Year Awards that...
And the problem is that he pretends to not be a dickhead. Like, there's people that are dickheads, but everybody knows they're dickheads, so it's not a problem. But if you're pretending and then people find out, well, then they're going to fucking hate you.
Corden got his first taste of public embarrassment when Patrick Stewart decided to lay into him live on air.
When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Was it unprofessional and kind of petty of him to call him out live on stage instead of having a word in private? Yeah. Was it also funny as fuck to watch him getting told off like some arsehole schoolboy? Also yes. More than that though, it was the first real chink in Corden's
Fucking got him. Fucking got him, bro. The final boss of Bald. Yep. Professor X laying it down.
affable, easygoing public persona. Still, he did his best to defuse the situation afterwards, and for the time being at least, his career was still going strong. He was a regular fixture at big events like the Brit Awards and still booking roles in films and TV shows, but what he really needed was something to take his career to the next level. He needed to crack America. Enter the Late Late Show, which for the past decade had been hosted by
Just what we need. Another late night show of the host telling the same jokes to the same people with the same laugh tracks and the same spectrum every single fucking time.
Ferguson. He was a popular host and the show was doing well, but by 2014 his contract had expired and he was ready to move on to new projects. A replacement had to be found, and that replacement turned out to be our boy James. And to his credit, he turned out to be a good choice in the short term at least. His humble, everyman persona was the perfect contrast to the slick, polished confidence of other late night talk show hosts.
True.
He was able to actually have fun and engage with his guests as human beings and get way more out of them than others could.
Good for
More
him.
than that though, he understood the importance of creating viral moments that could get shared on social media, and he was happy to oblige. Carpool Karaoke turned out to be a stroke of absolute genius that drew in record audiences.
But wasn't it that like they weren't even driving? They found out these guys weren't even driving, they were just being pulled by a tow truck or something?
Cemented the show as a staple of late night TV. They say that if you can make it in America, you can make it anywhere, and James Corden had officially made it.
Damn.
He had a hit talk show on his hands, he was hosting some of the biggest awards ceremonies on US television, and even his movie career was starting to pick up again. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. But the old problems of ego and shitty behaviour behind the scenes were starting to resurface, and the first hit
Many such cases.
of this was during a game of Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, basically Truth or Dare but with animal body parts, where his co-host Jimmy Kimmel asked him a seemingly innocent question that he should have been easily able to answer.
Name 2 of the cameramen in this room.
That's bad. Oh, that's bad. Wow.
You know, it still blows my mind that his producers actually okayed this one.
Yeah, they should have never okayed that one. They should have known that would make him look bad if he got it wrong.
They must have known what would happen. They knew how it would make him look, and they still allowed it to go ahead.
And you know what that makes me think? Is that this guy is an asshole behind the scenes, and they were thinking, oh, good. We're going to get him.
Probably should tell you a lot about how he treated his own staff.
Yep.
Now that the cracks were appearing in his public persona, all kinds of damaging revelations were starting to leak through, like during his disastrous Reddit AMA in 2018, where one of the top comments criticised him for acting like a twat in a London restaurant a few years earlier. Another commenter threw shade at his behaviour during the filming of A League of Their Own, a British sports show, and accused him of throwing tantrums, refusing to interact with fans, and basically acting like an arrogant prick who absolutely didn't want to be there.
So he's just a fat retard. There's so many of those. It's such a problem. It is such a problem.
New accusations seem to fit the same pattern of obnoxious, entitled bullying once the cameras stopped rolling, and things weren't much better on the movie front.
The thing is that, like, there are guys that are, like, just really, really nice, and everybody likes them. Like, I'm trying to think... Like, I mean, there's nothing bad you ever hear about, like, Conan O'Brien, right? Like, basically never. It's the same as, like, some of these other people. Like, it's not impossible to be a nice guy celebrity, but it is impossible to pretend to be a nice guy celebrity. Well, I was thinking of late night show hosts. Obviously, Keanu Reeves, Henry Cavill, those are also really great examples, too. It's totally okay and totally possible to just be a nice guy celebrity, but you have to actually be a nice guy. You can't pretend, because eventually the act is going to wear off. That's it.
on either. Cats
Jay Leno?
ended
Yeah.
up being pure nightmare fuel. One
More
of the
like fats.
biggest critical disasters of the decade, and Corden himself caught most of the backlash for his unique performance.
It's
At the
I don't even think that's his fault. Honestly, it was so stupid what they were doing. Like Cats was like a fucking it's a Broadway play and you're doing these like weird furry characters. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? Really?
Damn, man,
Really?
even Ricky Gervais took great pleasure in shitting on him.
The world got to see James Corden as a fat pussy.
Damn. Oh.
He was also in the movie Cats, but no one saw that.
Such was the
It's crazy that guy just kind of went in there and this like you know what that's like? There were like certain media entertainment moments where like people go back and they look at it like years later and they realize, damn, this guy was more right than we thought. Another one was the Cat Williams Shannon Sharp interview. You can be Kang the Conqueror, but a white woman can take your whole life away in 2 weeks. And then that's exactly what happened to him. Remember that? Yeah, don't know that one? Yeah, and people go back and they watch it. It's good. It's so
hatred
good.
against his performance.
Norm
There was
Macdonald,
even a
presidential
petition
dinner, yeah.
to keep him from having any involvement in the Wicked movie that was in production at the time,
God.
which reached more than 100,000 signatures.
Wow.
Restaurants seem to be a particular trigger for James, which is
So he went to a lot of restaurants? All right.
ironic
believe it.
considering he clearly enjoys his food. But in 2022, he managed to get himself banned from the swanky New York restaurant Balthazar for allegedly screaming at staff and being rude and aggressive.
So he
towards
wanted food. So this is what they do. So here we go again. So he wanted food. He wasn't getting his food fast enough. So he started harassing the waiter. Feed me. Yeah, there it is.
his other customers. He'd eventually go on to apologise and get himself unbanned, but the damage to his public reputation was more permanent. It was becoming increasingly popular to hate on James Corden, and the hate was even spilling over into the Late Late Show, with the revelation that carpool karaoke was mostly faked, using trailers to drive the cars around. It sounds like a minor detail.
You know what they aim to do this for? They aim to do this for Extra Emily.
But it blew the fantasy for a lot of people, and ratings soon went into a terminal decline. By the start of 2023, weekly viewership was half what it had been just 6 months earlier. And by April, Corden announced that not only was he leaving the show, but the show itself was being taken off the air permanently. Not long.
There's too many late night shows, man. There are. Like, there's just too many of them. I mean, it's not even entirely his fault. I mean, I think for him it is. But, like, in general, it's the same with Colbert. Like, I mean, there's just too many of these shows. And they're all doing and talking about the same thing. Like, you know why Conan was good? Is because it was kind of different. It was actually different. Like, Letterman was different in to a degree. Johnny Carson was a bit different. This guy, more of the same. So many of them, like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, that guy that looks kind of like Ryan from The Office. I think also, you know, Stephen Colbert turned into this. You're basically watching 4 versions of the same show. You are. It's 4 versions of the same thing.
Afterwards, he also announced that he was moving back to the UK to focus on his family.
Really?
His public image was in tatters after years of embarrassing revelations against him. His movie career was derailed by a disastrous series of flops, and even his hosting gigs were rapidly drying up. James Corden had officially crashed and burned. Yeah, I'm sure he'll never be short of money at this point, and he's got just enough name recognition to land the occasional role that'll keep him in the public eye, but his days at the top of American TV are long behind him. And now here he stands as a cautionary tale to those who would follow in his footsteps. Be careful what you wish for. He's a perfect example.
No, just don't be a fucking asshole. It's simple. Don't be an asshole and don't be a dick. Don't be rude to people that are in a position that they can't tell you no. That's one of the things that I think a lot of people, it's the same thing I said before about like hurting animals. And like, I'm not comparing waitstaff to animals, but I kind of am, aren't I? And so my point is that whenever a person abuses an animal, it's seen as a universal evil because of the power imbalance, right? But the problem is that the same thing is the case with waitstaff and other forms of like low income workers, is that whenever a person treats a person like that badly, it reflects badly on that person. Because you know this person can't talk back to you. You know this person basically just has to be a servant to you. But you're patronizing and mistreating them for what? Why? Yeah, biggest red flag there is exactly, yeah, you're a piece of shit. And everybody knows it. The people that do that are pieces of shit. They have lack of patience? No, it's more than that. It's way more than lack of patience. It's a philosophical stance. Yes. Well, it's a mining canary in the depths of a person's like personality, is that if a person is going to do that, they're probably awful if you get to know them more.
Of what happens when too much fame and success comes too quickly to a man without the wisdom and maturity to cope with it. A man whose career was built on a persona he could never hope to maintain. A man whose life was placed under the magnifying glass of celebrity and all his flaws exposed for the world to see. And unfortunately for James Corden...
No, the problem is that he tried to put on a persona that wasn't authentic to himself, and people found out about it and they disliked him. This is why you should never you should never pretend to be like this fake nice guy unless that's actually who you are. It's a huge mistake. Tons of people make it.
We're just too many of them to overcome. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I never hear about this guy anymore. I'm going to be honest. I'll link you guys the video. And crash and burn the James Corden story. Not a good story to have, I'll tell you that. Like Pirate Software. To an extent, I think it's different with Pirate Software, but I can see why you bring that up. I mean, sure, definitely. And yeah, it would be funny to see you do an Ice Guy stream. I mean, if you watch me in IRL, I feel like I'm a nice guy. I do. I feel like I'm a very reasonable, polite, conscientious, nice person. And I know people might not want to believe that, but it is true.